sessions is rather than me come up with topics that I think might be of use, because I can talk refereeing all day long, every day on any topic. It would be really good to get some feedback on what aspects of the game you would like to hear about. So whilst I'm going through tonight and we're talking about refereeing junior water polo and what is the role of a referee, etc. Think of some ideas. You don't have to put them in the chat. If you want to put them in the chat, great. If not, just send me an email. And then for the session in another couple of weeks' time, if we get some ideas, even if it's like something that might only take 10 or 15 minutes, I can put a few of them together, and then we're actually addressing the needs of the referees rather than me just rabbiting on about what I think is useful. So yeah, please, if you have any ideas, send those forward. So as I said, tonight we're talking about refereeing of junior water polo. Now, I know that water polo is water polo and the rules are the same, but it's important, I think, to focus on a couple of things when we talk about junior water polo. First of all, we're talking about really what is the role of a referee? Because it's not just knowing the rules and standing up on the side and refereeing the rules. It's a lot more than that. So what I would like to do this evening is just share with you what I believe the role of a referee is, and then go into more specifics about what should be concentrating on when we're looking at junior water polo. Now, the important thing here, this is probably going against most things that World Aquatics say, because World Aquatics are talking about refereeing at the highest level. And yes, I understand this is really important, but we're not all at that stage at the moment. And so as referees, not junior referees, I'm talking about refereeing at a junior level, whether you're brand new to refereeing or whether you've been refereeing for 20 years, it's what are the things that we need to maybe do a little bit differently so that we're there to aid and assist the game, not just there to punish people because they're not doing the right thing. So that's sort of the tack that we're going to take tonight. What is the role of a referee in sport, and particularly in water polo? Then the differences when you're refereeing junior water polo. And then to finish off with, as we start our BMJC this Saturday, just to give some specific details that are relating to that competition. So again, that's the majority of you on the call that would be interested in that, but a couple of you that aren't refereeing at BMJC might be some interesting information anyway. So I've already spoken about what we're going to be covering tonight. So can I just get a thumbs up from either Gail or Will, because I can see you that you can actually see the slides so far. Yep, excellent, great. Now, again, this is not anything that is research-based or scientifically based or someone's done research into this. This is my opinion of what I believe a referee is in a sport. So this one is more generally about a referee's role in sport in general. So for people that are going to be successful in what they're doing as a referee, I think the key to it is not knowing the rules. Anyone can read the rules and get to know them, but it's how well you can relate with the stakeholders in the game. So those effective interpersonal skills and the communications, being able to connect, engage with the players, the coaches, the other referees, your table officials, competition managers, all of these things are really important. So it's not just knowing the rules, it's a lot more than that. And I think it's also really important that as referees, we really uphold the spirit of the game. And it doesn't matter who we are refereeing, whether it's an under 12 Division 6 or it's an Olympic Games, everyone in that pool at that time that's playing and the coaches on the side, they deserve the best that you can possibly give. So it's really important that you approach every game as a referee with the equal amount of importance. Obviously, the pressure associated with the 12 Division 6 game is not the same as a pressure associated at an Olympic Games. But for those kids in the water, that's their level at the moment, and it's really important that we do the best that we can for these players. because it is the Olympic Games for them. That's their level at the moment. So just some things there to maybe keep in the back of your mind, especially with competitions coming up. And there's, in Brisbane, there's so many grades and so many divisions. You might be thinking, oh, why have I got 13 Div 6 or 14 Div 2? Why aren't I refereeing 18 Div 1? They're all important. So again, just something to keep in mind when you're refereeing. Now, the role of a water polo referee. So the first slide was more about referees in general, regardless of the sport. Obviously, we need to be able to enforce the rules. That's what we're there for. We're not there to agree with the rules or disagree with them or argue them. We didn't write them. They're written for us. We need to enforce the rules as a referee. And the other thing that we need to remember is that we're in absolute control of the game. You need to have control of the players, the team officials, and the spectators. And especially in some of the venues that you would be refereeing in, you might literally have a spectator sitting 1 meter behind you. So not that you want them to be, not that you want to listen to every single word they say, but you are in control of everything, including if they're making comments and doing things that are inappropriate and you can't concentrate on your game, then you need to be able to do something, whether it's you saying something to that person or talking to the pool coordinator at an appropriate time and just say, with what's going on in the stand, I'm really finding it difficult to concentrate. So again, understand that you do have control. You can turn, if you've got the confidence, to a spectator who is bad-mouthing you or bad-mouthing players. You can actually ask them to leave. It's not that you don't just have to do that for players and coaches. So if there's someone in the grandstand that is really out of line, it's not in the spirit of think, act, play or in the game, you can stop the game, take the ball out, ask someone to leave, and you don't start the game until they leave. And then hopefully there will be people at the pool that would come and help you if that was needed. So really, really important to understand you are in absolute control of the game. It's really important, as I showed you on the previous slide, to have really positive interactions with everyone. You want this to be a positive experience to referee. It shouldn't be a chore for you. If it's a chore, don't do it. Like, you should be doing it because you enjoy the refereeing. So having positive relationships and going in with a really positive attitude rather than, I don't like that team or I don't like that coach, turn that into positives, because you've got to approach it in a positive way. And then you're going to come across more positive about what's going on, more collegial, more collaborative, and more approachable, which then makes it a lot easier than having everyone, oh, she's refereeing again. Do we have to put up with her? So it's a mutual respect, a respect for the players and coaches, and then hopefully you can earn their respect as well. And as well as that, you've got admin duties and responsibilities that we'll talk about a little bit later about what you need to do before and after the game, etc. So again, some things that I think really reflect of what could be a good performance for a referee. So you need to be confident, but you don't need to be cocky or strutting around as though you own the place. You need to be confident and you need to be calm. You've really got to think about your positioning on pool deck. Now, that means from the moment you arrive to the moment you leave. So most of you would have refereeing duties, maybe coaching duties, maybe playing duties. But you've got to be able to separate all of those different roles that you have. So when I'm coaching, I am coaching in my club or my school shirt. I'm not sitting there with a refereeing shirt on. And I'm a coach in that sense. When I have to referee, I take off my club or my school shirt and I put on my refereeing gear. And then I'm in that mode. If I'm playing, I do the same thing. I go and put my playing gear on. I get ready to referee or to play. So really making sure that you're aware of what role you are playing and you're performing that in the manner that you should be. And everyone understands that everyone has different roles in water polo. They don't expect you just to be one thing. Our sport is too small for that. But you need to be able to differentiate when you're doing different roles. And the other thing is, as players, for example, you might be being refereed by someone whom you might be refereeing with together later in the day. But again, you need to understand the different relationships at different times. So if I'm a player, I don't yell out, "Hey, Gail, what was that call for?" Because I know who she is and we refereed the previous game together. That's not on. I'm a player in that situation. I'm not a referee. So just being able to separate the different roles that you fulfill within the one day. Also, for referees, it's not guessing what the teams will do next, but trying to be one step ahead, understanding the game. And I know I spoke about this last time when we were together. It's when you get the chance and you start to referee teams and players, you get to know what the type of players that they want. Do I want a foul here? Do I not want a foul? You know, those type of things. So you don't play the game for them, but you try and understand what they're trying to do if it's within the rules. Also, consistency and fairness. If you are consistent and you call the same thing for the white team as you same thing for the blue team, they can't have a complaint. Where they can have a complaint is I call an exclusion for the white team, but the same thing happens to the blue team and I call a contra foul. That's when referees and can get themselves in a little bit of trouble, or the coaches or players think that's not fair. So again, be consistent, be fair, regardless of who the player is, regardless of who the team is, you need to be consistent and fair across all of your refereeing. Already spoken about the communication and to have control. It is your responsibility the entire game. And really important because generally as a referee, I say generally, because in a couple of slides' time, I'll probably say something a little bit different to this, is we generally don't speak. It's not like netball or you're saying stepping or this, that, and the other. You're using your whistle and your signals for the players and coaches to know what's happening. So again, for really good performance, nice, clear whistles and signaling. So again, none of this is to do with knowing the rules. These are other aspects that you can be thinking about to make you a better referee, to give the players and the coaches a better experience for what they're doing. Again, sorry, I doubled up on that slide there. That didn't help. Now, the other thing as well, and I know this is very hard because you're all aligned to a club, you're all aligned to a school, and yes, this is normal. But when you are refereeing, you must be impartial. You can't have favourites one way or the other, or ref differently because you know someone, or it's your sister's brother's friend's team, or it's someone, even sometimes you'll be assigned to games that are your own club or your own school. It doesn't matter. They're still blue, they're still white, and you are an impartial observer in the game. You let the players play, you don't play for them. You reward good play and punish, for want of a better word, the bad play, the exclusions, those type of things. And what's really important here as well is you as the referee, you need to set the limits early. What am I prepared to accept and what am I not prepared to accept? Because if I'm prepared to accept a player questioning my call in the first quarter, then I should be expected to do that in the second, third, and fourth quarter. But why do I allow them to question my call? They shouldn't be. We should punish them accordingly. Because if you let them get away with it, they will continue to do it. And if you don't start off quite strict, probably is a good word to use, you can lose control of the game early, and it's really hard to pull it back. It's better to go a little bit harder at the beginning, and then once the players know what to accept, you might be able to, as long as you're consistent, relax just a little bit in some of the things that are happening as the players are abiding by what you're doing. So again, you're the observer. You're not making calls. You're calling what is in front of you. Like people say, "Oh, what did you do that for?" Well, I'm only reacting to what you as a player did or to what you as a coach did. I'm not making things up as I go. So again, really important to understand you're a really important part of the game, but you don't want to be involved in the game as such. And that leads to the next one for me. The referee is not the star of the show. It's not about you. The game is about the players. And I think the most important thing is if I walk away from a game And then someone went, oh, who refereed that game? That's good, because you had no negative impact on the game. If the referees weren't noticed, this is great. And there was last week, I think it was, yes, I was in Canberra for the National State Championships, and last week I was actually coaching, not refereeing. And there was one game that we played, and it was refereed really, really well. And someone said to me that afternoon, oh, that was a great game you had today. Who was the referees? And I went, good question. And that was really good. Like, for me to be able to say, I actually can't remember who refereed the game, that's good, because they're not there to be the star. I do remember who they were, and I thank them for the game later. But yeah, really important, you're not there to be the star. And the other thing I think that's important, and I've mentioned this before and given examples before, you will make mistakes. You cannot go through an entire game of refereeing without making a mistake. You're human. Things happen so fast. There's so much going on. You're not going to get absolutely everything right. No one ever does. But how do you deal with that mistake? If I've recognized it and it's appropriate time, own it. Sorry, my mistake, ball out. This is where it should be. Put the ball back in. If it's something I can't change because I've done an exclusion when there was someone about to shoot, I'm just like, oh, I can't change that. But after that action at an appropriate time, sorry, coach, my mistake, I blew the whistle too soon. So it's, if you can acknowledge your mistakes appropriately and be humble, it's also a chance that other people will respect you more for what you're doing, rather than going, oh, I'm never wrong, I'm always right. And it's, how do you deal with it? You've got to be able to move on. You can't dwell on those mistakes, because if you dwell on them, you will make more and more and more, and you'll dig yourself into a bigger hole. So you need to be like a goldfish. Forget that mistake you've just made. They've got, if you don't know, a goldfish has really, really tiny memory. Can't remember what it did 2 seconds ago. That's what you need to do. Forget about your mistake, move on, and then referee to the best of your ability moving forward. Because again, it's not about you, it's about the players. Okay, so there's some, I suppose, just more generic things that I would like you to think about as a referee, especially as you front up to referee BMJC this weekend, most of you, where you could be refereeing anything from under 12 all the way through to under 18, Division 1 through to Division 4. So regardless of what you are, which grade you're doing, what gender you're doing, these things are all really important. And just some things that you to think about, that what is my role as a referee? We all know what coaches' roles are. We know what players' roles are. So this is, I believe, the roles that you play in our sport. So before I move on to more specifics about before game, after game, during game, juniors, etc., any questions or comments or anything that you want to disagree with or agree with on what I've said so far? If it is, just unmute and fire away. Don't wait for me to invite you.
Nicola, I think one of the other things that referees need to remember, especially when they are on the younger age group games, that potentially the kids are new to the sport, and definitely the parents are new to the sport. So not only are you trying to implement the rules of the game so it's fair for all, but you're also actually educating. So as Nicola's already said, be clear in what you call, be clear in how you signal and how you whistle, so everyone learns.
Thanks, Gail. And I will get to that shortly as well, but that's perfect. You've read one of my slides.
Yeah, Nicola, Jack, I think a lot of the younger referees especially, they go into the game looking for fouls in the game. Let the foul happen. See somebody pulling past and call it then. Don't go, I assume that they, and don't go looking for somebody pulling past. Just let it happen and go from there.
Yep, very good point. Yeah, thanks, Jack. That's great. Okay, now we'll move on again, please, at any time. You don't have to wait for me to say any questions or comments. Just when you get to an appropriate pause, unmute and fire away. So some things for you to think about, again, whether you're brand new to refereeing or you've been refereeing for a while, some things that you need to be responsible for before the game, during the game, and after. So before the game, and I know it's really hard during BMJC, and it's probably the same in the Sydney comp and the Vic comp and all of those. There's a 50-minute time slot. The game finishes in 42 minutes. You've got 8 minutes to get that group out of the pool, the next group started, and do all of these things. So there's not a lot of time to do it. But if you want to be successful in your refereeing, especially during these busy times at BMJC, really important to try and have these 2-minute conversations before you kick the game off. So really important to talk to your other referee, the person that you're going to be refereeing with. How are you going to work together? How are you going to collaborate? Where are you going to look? Like when we're talking about the attacking and defensive referee, are we talking about you're going to take those 2 players, I'll take these 4? Because generally as the attacking referee, you would take the centre forward and what we call position 3. Sometimes you'd take position 4, depending how far they go down to position 3. And the defensive referee takes the other. And the position 4 is usually the one that's a little bit questionable. Oh, are you calling that or am I calling that? So talk to the referee before the game. Are we going to go 2-4 or are we going to go 3-3? Like, meaning how many players are we watching when we're attacking and defending? Is there anything that we really need to focus on today? Maybe I speak about something towards the end of this meeting and you go, oh, we really need to focus on penalties. What are the 5 criteria that Nicola said need to be there for a penalty to be called? Let's really focus on that today and we can help each other out. So make sure you're doing that and talking to each other. Really, really quickly, and so important at the beginning of a season, especially with the younger age groups. You're going to have people doing table officials, scorings that have probably never done it before. So they're nervous about doing it. The kids are nervous about playing, and you're nervous that they don't know what they're doing. You're all in this together. You are going to make mistakes. They will make mistakes. We don't blame the table officials. We just try and sort it out. So have a quick chat to the table officials before the game. Have you done this before? Fantastic. That's great. If you haven't, please don't stress. We've got a PC, a pool controller. If you need a hand, they'll come and help you. So you're there to try and get them to feel comfortable so that they're not going to make as many mistakes so that you can then referee the game and not worry about what the table official's doing. So if you know them, you don't have to say to them, oh, are you comfortable with this? There's people you see around all the time. But especially with the younger grades, 12s and 13s, just have a quick chat to them beforehand. Is there anything I can help you with? Do you know how to use the clock? Blah, 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 blah. So just make sure that they're feeling really comfortable. Now, again, you may not have time to do this, but if you do, it's always a really nice thing. If you don't know the coach, just go up to them before the game. Have a good game, coach. I'm Nicola. Enjoy the game. And then that's just breaking the ice. You're not against each other. You're there for the benefit of the players. So again, do that in a friendly manner. It doesn't have to be, speaking down at anyone. No one's speaking up or down to people. Just a really nice way to introduce yourself and to be able to enjoy the game. And then hopefully at the end of the game, they might come up and say, oh, thanks, Nicola, for the game. That was really good. So again, just opening up that friendly dialogue. Now, during the game, obviously a lot more happens during the game. But again, you need to make a decision. There's nothing worse than someone blowing the whistle and then they're sort of standing there going, I've blown the whistle, but what am I going to signal? If you have to, fake it until you make it. Blow the whistle, put an arm out, be definite about what you're doing. You're not always going to be right, but don't stand there looking like I'm not really sure what I should be calling here. Make a decision, be clear with your hand signals, nice, sharp, loud whistle. Most of you blow the whistle and you can hardly hear it. You think it's loud, but the kids are in the water. They've got earmuffs on their caps. You need to be really loud. So make a decision, be clear and precise. Now, the next point is really important as well, and it's what I spoke about before about knowing where each other is looking. It's really hard to not watch the ball, especially when you're refereeing a junior game. It's like soccer. It's like bees to a honeypot. You know where the ball is. The ball is there, and there's generally 12 people around it, and they're going like this. That's a bit easy because they're all in one place. But when they are spreading out, try not to watch the ball. If you are the defensive referee, you need to be watching your area. Because if two people are watching the ball, who's watching the rest of the field and what's happening in the rest of the field? So really, really important to be making sure that between the two referees, the entire field is being seen. And that really comes down to the next dot point there, which is how you position yourself on pool deck. So if you have ever seen me referee, some of you will have, I never stand still. I'm always moving forward, back, stepping forward, go back, go forward, moving constantly, because you need to be able to get the best view of the players depending where they are in the water. Am I standing at the 2 meters? Am I moving up to the 5 meters? Am I walking backwards so I don't lose vision of what's happening? So a lot of the time when referees are missing calls, it's not because they're not seeing them. Sorry, it's not because they're not making the call. They actually don't see them because they're not got the right positioning. So really important when you've got mentors and delegates that will be helping you, or senior referees, if someone comes up and gives you some advice on how better to position to see things in the water, really listen and take on that advice. Because if you can get your positioning right, it makes it so much easier to see what's happening and then make the appropriate calls. If both referees blow the whistle at the same time for the same foul, this is not good, because again, it means we're both looking at the same place. So I had one referee said to me once, wasn't that great? We both called the same call at the same time. I was like, oh, yeah, good that you both saw it, but unfortunately, who was watching the rest of the field? So again, try not to get sucked into both watching in the same area. You need to make sure you're watching your area and everything is being covered. The next 2 points, again, don't tell World Aquatics that I've said this, because it's not written in any rules. As I said, the rules are the same whether you're playing under 12 Division 6 or whether you're playing at the Olympics. But you would be well aware the ability of a new kid playing the game and an Olympian is vast. The ability of an under 12 to an under 18 is vastly different. So even though we apply the same rules, we've got to be clever in how we apply them. Because if I go and referee an under 12 game, the same as I referee an AWL game, those kids, there's no enjoyment for anybody. So you need to ensure that you're being consistent with both teams, but maybe we know we should not blow an ordinary foul if the player is holding the ball. That's a rule. We know that, or hopefully we know that. But if I'm refereeing a really lower division and young kids, and someone's got the ball and they're sitting on the side of the pool and no one's helping them, that's no fun for anyone. If I give a quick foul, then they can pass the ball, but I have to do the same for the other team. So it's not favouring one team or the other. It's just playing the game at a level that suits what's in front of me. So again, this is not a written rule with World Aquatics. This is something that I encourage you to try and do to make the game more enjoyable for the players. What I am not saying is you've got two teams playing against each other. One is very, very, very skillful and the other is not. I am not saying that you referee this team differently to this team, because that's not fair and consistent. So I don't punish the better team because they're good. I'm consistent in what I'm calling based on the age and ability of the players. So I really hope that that's something that you can think about, especially if you're doing an under 12 game and then an hour later you're refereeing an under 18s, just be able to adapt to what's in front of you. And the other thing, and here's the word where Gail said before, we're there to help educate. It's exactly what I've got written here. I think I said this in our last session. I know I am not meant to talk to the players and the coaches, but me standing there blowing the whistle, waving my arms, The louder I whistle, the more I wave my arms. Guess what? They're still not understanding what I'm trying to get across to them. Take the whistle out of your mouth. Number 6, it's your foul. Number 4, blue, move back a meter, let him throw the ball. Okay, play the ball. Off we go. So we are there to help educate the players and coaches, because some coaches are also new to our sport, and to make it enjoyable for them. I'm not just there to punish and go, I know the rules, you don't, you're going to have a bad experience. So really, again, you don't want to speak the entire game. But if this, let's say, for example, the kid picks up the ball, they don't play it, and 3 times in a row you turn it over. You might not do that. You might let them do it once and then say, okay, now you've got to remember, you've got to play the ball. When I blow the whistle, and playing the ball means it must release from your hand. Do we all understand that? Yes, good, let's go. Rather than every single time the kid picks up the ball, turn over, turn over. Oh, yes, you know the rules. That's great. But you're not helping the game at all. So again, it's not a written rule, those last 2, but really important for the enjoyment of the players and for the spectators to help understand what's going on, that you talk a little bit if you need to. Okay, and then just wrapping up the game, at the end, make sure you thank the table officials for the work that they've done. If you end up on the coaches' side, again, thank the coaches for the game. If you're on the other side, you're not necessarily going to run around and thank them. Really important then, when you thank the table officials and the secretary's finished off his or her game card, that before you sign it, you don't just squiggle there, good, I've got my $20, I'm out of here. Check the game card. Check to make sure that the score is correct. You should also check the exclusions, but after the game's finished, you can't do anything about it. You can't go back and go, oh, she should have had her 3rd exclusion in the 2nd quarter. Let's go back and replay from there. So checking the exclusions is worthwhile, but we can't do anything about it after the fact. But checking the score is really important, because once you sign off and say that is correct, that scorecard goes back to the Water Polo Queensland office or whomever else is running your competition. They do not check 300 game cards that came into them on a Saturday. All they are going to do is look at the bottom and it'll say, blue team beat white team 7-6, blah, 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 into Rev Sport. They do not have the time to check 300 game cards. So your responsibility as the referee is to check that the score is right, make sure that that's correct, and then sign it. So again, I don't know what other states in Australia do, but linked with your payment in BMJC, you must print your name on the card at the top, sign at the bottom, and when you've done that, then your payment would be processed. Now, hopefully this doesn't happen, but if you do give a red card during the game, and I'll talk about reporting on the next slide, you do need to complete a report. If you give a yellow card, not necessarily at all, that's just a warning. But if you do give a red card to a player or an official during the game, you need to fill out a report afterwards. So before I move on to controlling the game and maybe having to write reports, are there any questions or comments on what you need to do before the game, what you need to do during the game, and what you should be doing after the game? No, all makes sense? Perfect. Okay, so I could have had this slide headed red and yellow cards, but let's think about it more in the positive way. If I can control the game, it's most likely not going to get to the point that I'm going to have to give a red card. So we try and be proactive in doing things and positive. So as we said before, I am in control of the whole game. The field of play, the benches, the officials table, everything. Also mentioned, if I can get control of the game earlier, it's a lot easier to referee the game. But we need to remember that even if we have control of the game, sometimes the players and coaches just don't agree with what we're doing for whatever reason. So if they don't wish to play by the rules, they're the players, we can exclude them. Someone might mouth off at me, oh, why did you call that exclusion or whatever? Okay, thank you. You didn't agree with me. You can have an exclusion. If maybe two players are not interested in playing water polo anymore, they would just rather grab each other, wrestle with each other. They're not interested in playing water polo. I can take the ball out to try and settle the situation and say, both of you just go and have a break for 18 seconds. Cool down, then you can come back into the game. So I may choose as a referee, if it's appropriate, to do a double exclusion. So a double exclusion isn't always, oh, who did what first? I'm not sure. I'll kick you both out. But maybe they're just centre forward, centre back wrestling with each other, or two people on the perimeter. Not, the ball's miles away and they're worried about drowning each other. No, kick you both out. Try and settle the game. If maybe the coach is questioning every decision that I make or being a little bit vocal, again, if they swear at me, I do not need to go through a warning, a yellow card. If they say, you stupid idiot, with some other expletives in there, we don't need to worry about going through warning, yellow, red. Straight away, that's inappropriate behaviour. You can go. But if they're just questioning, oh, what was that penalty for? Or what was this? I can just say, okay, coach, enough. This is your last warning. If you continue, I may be forced to use a yellow or red card. You've then told them they've reached the limit of what you're prepared to accept. 90% of the coaches will go, okay, I've pushed him or her as far as I can, and they won't bother doing it any further because they don't want to get carded. But there will be some that choose to keep going. If they choose to keep going, I can then pull out a yellow card and said, I don't even have to say anything. I can just show the yellow card. They should know very well for what that's for. If they say, oh, what's that for? You don't even need to explain it. You've already given them the warning. Or if you want to, I gave you the warning before, you didn't stop. That's what it's for. So don't get really excited about it. Some people get really excited about giving the yellow and the red card. Remain calm. You're just offering them what they deserve for their behaviour. Move on. Don't run up and give it to them in their face. Stay the distance. Keep the distance. Keep it calm. Don't get emotional about it. Then if they've got that, they know what's coming next if they continue. If they continue, then, and it can't be like bang, 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 warning that 2 seconds later, yellow card, 2 seconds red when they've had nothing to do. It's got to be separate occasions. So then the red card is, okay, pull out the red card. Again, there shouldn't be any questions, just the red card. That means they know that they now need to leave the field of play. If they don't leave the field of play, again, in a calm manner, do not inflame the situation. Already they're angry about what's happened. You don't want to get it aggravated any further. Just say, coach, you need to leave the field of play, please. Walk back to halfway, get ready to start, make sure that they're gone. If there is a pool controller there, they should come over if that coach isn't going and ask them to leave. With the coach is the only one that gets the yellow card and the red card. If the assistant coach yells something out at me or jumps up and comes running down the side of the pool, they don't get a yellow card warning. Red card, goodbye. They don't have to be warned. Same with the players in the water. If a player turns to me and said, what the F was that for? No, red card, goodbye. So the yellow card is only issued in this situation for a head coach, not an assistant coach, not a manager, nothing like that. So then if you do issue a red card, you must at the end of the game complete a report. Now, if this is the first time that you have given a red card, do not fill out the report by yourself. You need to make sure you get the report right, because if you get the report right, the rest of the process is really easy. So you don't have to submit it within 10 seconds of the end of the game. If there is a pool controller there, ask them if they can help you. If there is a senior referee there, that's even more appropriate. Ask them if they can help you. When you're writing the report, and it's all online, there should be a QR code at the pool that you're at. You just scan the QR code, it brings up an online form for you. Fill out your details, etc. Really important when you are filling out reports, stick to the facts and keep emotions out of it. It's not, I don't like that and don't use generalizations. I've told them 1,000 times. They always do this. This is just what they're like. Take all of that out of it. What were the facts? At 3 minutes 56, he said this, I did that. It's really, really simple. Don't write an essay, but make sure it's detailed and to the point. Make sure also you keep a copy for yourself, because when you submit it, you should get a copy, but I usually screenshot it if I have to before I submit it. And again, if you've got another game that you've got to go straight to, whether you're coaching or playing or refereeing another game straight away, and someone else told me this years ago, everyone has a phone, just do a voice memo into your phone. You don't have time to write anything, but in 3 hours' time, you're going to forget exactly what happened. So if you've got your phone with you, pull it out, just talk into your phone. This is exactly what happened. If it's early in the game and you have your phone with you, which you should not be accessing for any other reason than this, let's say I give a red card in the first quarter. At quarter time, so I don't forget what's happened, as I'm walking around the other side, I just pull my phone out, say, again, a voice memo of exactly what happened. So when I get to report at the end of the game, I can remember what happened 45 minutes ago, because a lot can happen in a game. And you need to be as detailed as possible and specific as possible. So I suggest that in a BMJC, you are likely to have your phone in your pocket, even though you're not pulling it out. For anything else other than this, it's a good chance to be able to do that. So hopefully you don't have to write one, but it is really important, because when you write that, that goes to the competition manager. And then depending what you've given the red card for, that player will automatically get a 1-game suspension or a 1-week suspension anyway. If that person then appeals it, you might get called to the judiciary to explain what you saw and why you gave the red card, which is really important to make sure you're really clear at the beginning. Because if the judiciary is maybe 5 or 6 days later, you're not going to remember everything really clearly if you didn't write it down succinctly. So really important, because if you do that at the beginning, it makes the judicial process so much easier. If the person doesn't appeal it, great, you don't have to go to a judiciary. But if they do appeal it, then you may need to go to one of those. They're not nice, but again, you just get questioned about why did you see, why did you call that? What did you see? They will ask you questions, as in the judiciary. The player can ask you questions, or the coach, whomever it was. So again, if you're are called to a judiciary, if you're under 18, you can have a support person with you, but they're not allowed to talk. You are the one that has to do the talking, but they're there to support you if you feel a little bit nervous or anxious along the way. But again, we will make sure that if you do have to do something like that within the Water Polo Queensland office, we will make sure that you're prepared, so that you're not being thrown in the deep end and get a really horrible experience. Again, we don't have many that go to judiciaries, but I just wanted to give you the big picture so that you knew if you got an email saying, oh, you've been called to a judiciary, it's like, oh, what does this mean? So again, just important for you to understand the process. Okay, before I jump on to the BMJC specifics and then just a couple of rules that I think we really need to be careful of with juniors, any questions on the controlling of the game or the reporting process or comments?
Nicola, just with when you're checking the card, if you have issued a yellow card or red cards in the game, down the bottom right-hand side where the referees actually co-sign, there's a little area there that says comments. Now, I like to actually list that 4th quarter, red card, cap number 6 blue and just put misconduct or whatever it was for. And then that way, when whoever it might be in the office that's keying in the results, they look down, oh, okay, we've got a red card here, and then they can go back through and then they can check that the reports have been done. It's just a gentle reminder for everyone that that's the process that needs to be followed, that the cards have been written on there. Yep, we need to make sure that the report's done.
Right, thanks, Gail. And if you haven't done the report, you will be contacted by the office to do that report. And the longer you leave it, as I said, the harder it is, because you can't remember, especially if you've played 2 or 3 games or coached 1 or 2 games, refereed 4 games, you'll be like, oh, I can't even remember that I gave a red card for. So really important to do it all as soon as you can. Lorena, I think that's you with your hand up?
Yes.
Yep, thanks, Lorena.
I also think one of the biggest things when you are giving a red card in a game, don't go searching for them, because I think it's hard to differentiate, but it's like, don't go searching for them. Like Jack said about fouls and stuff, don't go searching for the red cards. Also, just like on a professionalism basis, if you're on pool deck as a referee, please don't say, if you have a friend in the team, I'm going to give them a red card, or I know this coach, I'm going to give them a card. It doesn't look good for anyone, and it actually complicates things if you do end up having to give a card. Just like a general thing that I noticed last season when I was on pool deck with a lot of the younger referees.
Yeah. Thanks, Lorena. Absolutely. Okay, moving on then to a couple of sections to go. So now just some specific things to do with BMJC. Now, there was a lot of confusion last year, and I don't know why there was confusion, because it was very clearly written. So the 12 and under girls and boys play exactly the same rules as under 13s to under 18s. So I'm not going to confuse it, because for those of you that are new, this is good. But previous years, there were different rules played, but it does not matter. Apart from the size of the goal and the ball, the rules are the same. They can shoot outside 6. They have to stay out for 18 seconds. All of the rules are exactly the same. So please be aware of that if you are refereeing at the under 12s. And then if a coach says to you, oh, no, they just swim to the side and go back in. No, they don't. Under 12s play exactly the same rules as under 13s through to under 18s. Again, just for you to be aware of, the size balls that the teams use. So there are 3 different size balls. Again, I'm not going to read that out. You can read, but make sure if you've got different age groups at the pool, in the boys especially, we don't want a wrong size ball being thrown in. So just be aware of what sizes they should be used. Now, the next one, because BMJC is a participation event, it is not the World Championships, it is not the National Championships. We do not have the specific goalkeeper and field player rule. So in a game, you could play goalkeeper one half and you can play field player the second half. If you don't have a goalkeeper, you can have a different goalkeeper each quarter. So it is not like the World Aquatics rule where you can only be a goalkeeper or you can only be a field player. Within the one game, you can change if your coach wishes you to do so. We just need to make sure that when the teams are changing goalkeepers, that they notify the referee and or the table, because the table must make a note on the scorecard what number is now going into goal. But as a referee, if I see that the goalie plays the first quarter in goal and then puts on cap 7 for the next quarter, they are allowed to do that. So please, because this is a participation event, be aware of that rule. And that's all the way through, under 12s through to under 18s. We want one set of rules for the lot, so it's not confusing for people. Nail checks and sunscreen. Unfortunately, you do not have enough time between every game to check nails and sunscreen. This is the responsibility of the players. It is not your responsibility. So I've asked Taylor to ensure that when she sends out her communication to all of the teams tomorrow with all of the final reminders, to ensure that all the kids have got their nails cut and that we're using the alcohol-based sunscreen. Now, as a referee, if someone comes up to you and says number 6 has got sunscreen all over them or number 9 has got long nails, at an appropriate time, which is probably quarter time, ask that person to come and see you. If they have got excessive sunscreen on, you ask them to wipe it off because you can get sunscreen that isn't greasy. If they've got longer nails, you ask them to cut their nails. When they've cut their nails or when they've taken the sunscreen off, the excess, they come back and show you, and then you allow them to play the rest of the game. We are not excluding players for the remainder of the game because of nails or sunscreen. So please be clear of that. We are giving them the chance to come and show us again and then ask them to get back in the water. And we all need to be consistent with that. Like, I don't want one referee excluding someone for misconduct because their nails were too long. We all need to be on the same page in how we're applying these rules throughout the competition. Again, hopefully you might have had a look at the competition manual. So there are no timeouts and no penalty shootouts during round games. If it's a draw, it's a draw. There's no rule where you can't sub in the last minute if there's only a goal or two different in the round games. So nothing like that. If I choose to sub with 10 seconds to go, then that's how the rules are playing out. Flying substitutions can happen at all pools. So as a referee, be aware, some pools will have a wider flying substitution lane. Some will only have a very narrow one. If there's a really narrow lane, as long as they've got their head right against the wall and the partner that they're high-fiving comes right next to them, both heads above the water, high five, and the player can go back in. If there is no lane rope along the side, we can still allow flying substitutions, but both of their players must have the back against the wall. So back against the wall, next to each other, high five, and the new player goes back in. Really important that we, as referees, get the game started on time. So we're not standing around chatting for too long. Game starts at 8:40 or 9:10, whatever it is. 2-minute warning, let's go. Also, what happens in the local competition, especially if you've got Gina as your pool controller, if it's 8:50, the clock starts, whether you're ready or not. So we probably give a minute or two leeway, but they're going, oh, the clock's running, the clock's running. Yep, we know it's running. You need to be ready to go. So as a referee, let's get the teams ready, and you need to be ready as well to start the game at the advertised time. And as per the emails that have been sent out with Jane, just remember, please, that you need to be wearing your long sleeve white Water Polo Queensland shirt that you get supplied, and also navy or black shorts of a reasonable length. We don't want the shirt to be longer than the shorts. So that's the uniform. Enclosed shoes and hat and sunscreen and glasses if you wear them, because again, especially in Queensland, we need to be really aware of the sun safety, and we should be good role models for people in wearing the long sleeve shirt, the hat, the sunglasses, sunscreen, etc. If it is your first year refereeing and you do not have your shirt, because we supply one for you every second year because they don't need to be, they're still in very good quality of mine, and I wore it all of last season. If you're new this season, hopefully you've reached out and filled out your jot form so that we can get you the appropriate size. If you haven't, please make sure you get on to us so we can organise that. Those of you that are going for your accreditation, you just need to wear, if possible, a plain white t-shirt or something as plain as possible. You don't have to go and buy a plain white shirt. If it's got a little logo of something on it, that's totally fine. But as soon as you pass your accreditation for your community referee, that's when we'll get you your shirt, your cards, all of those things. So yeah, just being aware of the uniform requirements, please. And finally, before we jump into some junior specific rules, those of you that are going for your community accreditation or your development, please be aware it is your responsibility to have the paperwork with you. The person that is assessing you doesn't walk around with all of the paper in their backpack. You need to have it ready when you know when your game is, as per the roster. You, before the game, go and introduce yourself to your assessor, make sure you give them the paperwork, and then at the end of it, they will fill it out and give it back to you. It's then, again, your responsibility to get that scanned and sent back to Water Polo Queensland. That is not the assessor's responsibility. As soon as that comes back, then Jane and I will work on appropriate games then for you to be assigned to. To do with the, and all of you should be aware of this, the weekly availability, so the jot form that comes out, you've already got week 1, well, that's done, and week 2, 3 and 4 will come out shortly. There was a few changes to the draw yesterday, so had to redo the referees roster. So weekly availability, fill that out please by the Monday, with the rostering without hopefully too many changes going out on the Wednesday. And really important that you actually, once you get the roster, and I know the roster came out today, is that you confirm back to Jane that yes, I can do those games, because we need to know that you've seen that. So it's just that double check all the way through to make sure that we've got everything covered. As I said earlier, once you sign off on your game card, those game cards all get processed. The referee payments go through on a Monday, and you should be then being paid on a Wednesday for the games that you did on the Saturday. If Water Polo Queensland don't have your bank details or your statement by supplier, you need to ensure that you send those through, because they need that before they can pay you. And for anyone that is 17 and 9 months or older, you need to ensure that you have a blue card. If you're under that age, you don't need to have a blue card to be refereeing. So before I jump on to a couple of rules, I wanted to finish with the refereeing side of things to wrap up with. Are there any questions on the BMJC specific things, either pool deck or admin side of things? Okay, so a couple of things that I really wanted to reiterate. 28 seconds and 18 seconds. All clocks throughout the whole of BMJC have been set for that. So you shouldn't have any issues with this. I went back and had a look at the notes that were the most common things that people that were either delegating juniors or doing the assessment for the community referee. So these were the things that came up quite frequently about refereeing junior water polo. So I thought these were good ones to just have some quick little reminders. Again, if written rules, if the player is holding the ball, and we're not talking about if they're going to the goal to score a penalty, if they're on the perimeter or halfway along the pool and they are holding the ball, generally that means there shouldn't be a foul, especially as you get up in ages. I did say before, if they're under 12s and they're stuck on the side of the pool, as long as we're consistent and they're trying to pass to help the game, you might do that. But if they're holding the ball, really you should not be blowing the whistle, especially as they get a little bit older. The other thing that we've got to be really careful of, because we have a duty of care for the players in the water, a lot of the time the attacking player that is trying to get the foul is throwing their head into the defender. Now, if they're throwing their head into the defender, this is dangerous. So we need to turn the ball over. If they're constantly doing it, we need to, again, repeat what I said before. Take the ball out and just say, you need to watch your head. You can't be throwing your head into your defender. You need to step away rather than do that, because the headbutting can become quite dangerous. Also, the method of scoring. And I've seen this happen, and not just in juniors. As long as the ball has left the player's hand before the siren goes, if the ball goes into the goal, it's a goal. It doesn't have to be in the goal before the siren goes. So repeating, as long as it's left the person's hand and it goes in the goal, it's still a goal. And remember, the whole ball needs to go past the face of the goal. It doesn't have to hit the back of the net. It's only got to go past the face of the goal. Other common things that refereeing junior water polo we need to really concentrate on is defending the free throw. Once the player is awarded a free throw, the defender needs to come back that meter, then they can put their hand up to defend it. They can't sit in their face and defend them. So really important, come back that meter, and then we put the hand up. It gives them the chance to throw the ball. Playing the ball. We all should know that playing the ball means there must be space between my hand and the ball. So if I sit there and spin the ball on my hand, this is not playing the ball, and you should turn this over. And if they constantly do it, again, just remind them. I can throw it up and catch it myself. I can put it on the water and swim, put it on the water and pick it up again, pass to a teammate. But I must have space between the ball and the hand. And the players need to learn this so that they get into good habits. The exclusion foul. There's lots of reasons, but generally to hold, sink, or pull back your opponent who is not holding the ball. So if my player's swimming down the pool and I pull them back because I want to get in front of them, this is an exclusion. If I sink them, if I'm in centre back and I've got one hand down and one hand up, I'm sinking them. This is an exclusion. So keep in your mind, hold, sink, and pull back. If they're not holding the ball, this is likely to be an exclusion. Substitutions, I've said, is available at all pools. And the last one that we did cover a couple of weeks ago as well, that I really want you to get ingrained into your head. For you to be able to call a penalty, you need these 5 things. The attacker must be facing the goal. It's got to be a probable goal situation. I can't be on the side of the pool on 2 meters facing the goal. That's not a probable goal. The attacker must be wanting to score. I must be impeded from behind, not the side, from behind. And there can't be another defender, with the exception of the goalkeeper, in front of me. So if I'm to draw a triangle from my head to both goalposts, if there is no defender in that area and those other 4 things happen, it's a penalty. If there is a defender in that triangle, then I can't call a penalty. So really, really important for those things to be in your mind. So again, this session is not about the full rules, but these are things that I really think if you can keep in mind while refereeing juniors, it's going to make the game a lot easier for them to understand, and the coaches and the parents. So before I move on to the final slide, which is the one that you've all done so well at so far, well, 54 of you have, are there any questions on the brief rules that we really want you to focus on with the juniors in the coming weeks? No. Okay. So as you would be aware, some of you won't have received this, but if you're from another state and you would like to do the quiz, let me know and I can send this to you. Earlier this week, you were sent out an email with the video of the last session, because that was all about the rules. Also the PowerPoint presentation for that. And then in there was also a link to Microsoft Forms, which had a 30 quiz in there. I'm not calling it a test. It's a quiz. And it's really important for you to be fully up to date with the rules of our game, that you are then giving it the best shot that you can on the side of the pool. So I gave this to the Premier League and Premier League reserve referees before they refereed week 1. And it was really disappointing that even some really, really obvious rules, and I had given them the answers in a PowerPoint presentation in the same email as the quiz, that they didn't get some obvious things right. like the one that we spoke about last time with the 3 exclusions, you now stay on the bench. You don't have a separate bench. So again, really, there's some things that we are never going to get all right and we're never all going to agree on. But those really obvious things that we need to make sure we nail is really important. So when you've done the quiz, as I said, 54 have already done it, which is brilliant. We've given you until tomorrow to get this done. The last 2 questions I need to mark manually. The rest of it does it automatically. So make sure you save your responses, because when I go in and mark those final 2 questions for you, you then go back and check your results. I'm not guaranteeing I'll do them every night, so you need to give me a couple of days, and then you can go back and see what your final result is. Now, the good thing about the way we've set this up is when you've done the whole quiz and you submit it, it comes back and tells you the right answers. Because to me, it's not about whether you got 10 out of 30 or 30 out of 30. It's that you learn from the ones that you didn't get right. So by us telling you straight away what the answer is, you go back and you read it and you go, okay, I understand now what the answer should be. If you don't understand what the answer should be, even after you've looked at it, please send me an email and we can have a quick conversation about the rule, because that's the idea of this quiz. As I said, it's not to say you got 10 and you got 30. Yes, it's good to get it all right, but it's for you to learn from this. So really, really important that you save it, then go back at the end of the week and check to see what your final results are. So I know we've gone a little bit over time. We did start about 5 minutes late, so we're sort of just about 5 minutes late. So I'm going to stop sharing that screen for now so I can see some faces and throw open to any questions or comments that you've got on that last couple of slides or on anything else that you want to ask me. Libby wants to do the quiz. Fantastic. So does Gail. This is good. And Will. Excellent. I will send you the quiz. So are there any other questions or comments that anyone would like to make before we wrap up tonight?
Nicola, just a quick clarification with that 5 metre. So
yes,
the player is driving in, but if they actually turn and look back at their defender to try to milk the 5, their no longer intent is to score the goal. So they lose the 5. That's correct, isn't it?
Yeah. Like I might still look behind me to see how much room I've got.
Yeah.
So there's a difference between looking behind, oh, there she is or there he is, I'm just going to stop and let him grab me. But if I just look behind, see how much room, and I'm still trying to score, absolutely it's okay. But yeah, we don't want them just milking. That's why we're talking about they've got to have that intent to score. And I think most people now are understanding, like when the first rule first came in, it was hilarious. You only had to touch their, and bang, it was a penalty. You'd have 50 penalties in one game. But now that I think the players are understanding, I've still got to want to score before they're going to give it, then they are working harder. Thanks, Will. Any other questions or comments, or everything's as clear as mud? Okay. Well, again, thanks for joining us for our 3rd session. And for those that joined a little bit late, we will be having these in another couple of weeks as well. But if you've got any topics that you would like covered, please send them through to me in an email, and I'll make sure we incorporate those into our next couple of sessions. So thanks very much for all of those refereeing in Brisbane this weekend. Good luck. For those of you refereeing in other parts of Australia, good luck as well. And I look forward to seeing you online again soon. Thanks all. Have a good night.
Thanks, Nicola.
Thank you,
all the best to you. And
Thanks,
congratulations on your Nationals win. Well
Oh,
done.
thank you.
Very
Thanks,
well done.
Gail.
Thanks, Nicola.
Okay, bye.
Bye.